I'm here on the job site with Dale, who's a framing contractor.
Hey, good morning.
Dale traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance for all his business vehicles. We're here where he needs us most.
Yep, they sure are.
We make it easy for him to save on all his insurance needs, all in one place, with coverage that fits his business and bottom line. Oh, I shouldn't have looked down.
It's all right.
We're so far up here.
Look at me. Take a deep breath.
No, I'm good. So good.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
Hey, Howard.
In case you need a lawyer, here's my business card. I'm attorney Howard Ankin.
Oh, hey, Howard.
If you or someone you know has been hurt at work, Ankin Law can get the medical bills paid, the lost wages reimbursed,
Oh, hey, Howard.
and the compensation you deserve.
Hey, Howard.
We're one of the largest filers throughout the state of Illinois of workers' compensation claims. We're here to help. Call 312-6-million. Injury law made personal, that's Ankin Law.
From your favorite source for Chicago White Sox talk, delivering news, interviews, analysis, and more. This is the Sox Machine Podcast with your hosts, Jim Margulis, James Fegan, and Josh Nelson.
Thanks, Rob, and welcome to a new episode of the Sox Machine Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Nelson, and it's Thursday night, April 23rd, 2026, as we bring you this new show. What a road trip for the Chicago White Sox. After getting swept at home by the Tampa Bay Rays, and not going to lie, feelings were not great with the team heading to Sacramento. But the White Sox bats have come alive, especially Munetaka Murakami and Colson Montgomery. They achieved MLB history on this road trip, which we'll explain later in this podcast. Thanks to the home run, the White Sox went 4-2 in these last 6 games. You could make an argument they could have easily gone 6-0. And they are currently 10-15. Andrew Benintendi had a key 3-run home run Thursday as the White Sox beat the Diamondbacks 4-1. If you want a rosier picture, the White Sox are 9-10 in their last 19 games. They are in 4th place by 2 games over Kansas City, which the Royals are straight up not having a good time to start the 2026 season. And now for the White Sox, coming into town this weekend are the Washington Nationals. So let's get started by recapping what happened in Arizona. And joining me are Sox Machine's beat reporter James Fegan and managing editor Jim Margulis. And Jim and James, a series win in Arizona as the home run party continues. We've been waiting for this offense to wake up. And in Sacramento, the White Sox hit 8 home runs. In Arizona, they hit 8 more home runs. So 6-game road trip, 16 home runs. And James Fegan, is hunting for home runs the White Sox offensive blueprint for this season?
I can answer this in 3 ways. 2 of them will be hard-nosed. In terms of how they view themselves, they've been like from out of the gate saying like, hey, we have some slug in our lineup, but we can't rely on that. We're not gonna probably be up there at the top of the league. And I think like in terms of what you've seen, the people who had streaks are pretty much who you rely upon. Obviously, Benintendi came through, but like Vargas with his bat speed up, and Colson Montgomery from what he's been as a major leaguer up to this point, and Murakami going insane. Like they certainly have a powerful. Everson Pereira's obviously been a bat speed guy who's kind of playing up pretty early. They have a power part of their lineup where there is some pop to it. I don't think that's obviously it's half of the lineup right now. It's not all the lineup, right. So I think you're going to still see them operate where they get something going the bottom of the order in a semi-close game. There's a lot of guys that they asked to put down bunts. So I don't think it's going to define their group. 2, I would say homers kind of come and go. If you have, you can't necessarily hunt for homers as your only, even teams that do have a ton of power, you don't want to hunt for homers all the time. You always want to say, we can beat you in a lot of ways. If you mash fastballs, in the first game of a series, maybe you're going to see a bunch of spin and you need to take your walks to actually get things going in the later games of the series. There's always going to be a reaction to where you can't just kind of win one way ever. I wouldn't like sum it up that way. And the third way I'd answer it is like, I think there's a little bit probably more pop than maybe you thought going into it, where it's really just like Montgomery and Murakami, and then maybe the later Montgomery are your only like kind of threats you're really seeing. Teal, showed something more like 20 homer pop. They're doing the second half when he's going good. Obviously, he's hurt right now, but the way that Pereira is kind of making enough contact to be relevant and hitting the middle of the order so far, and Vargas being a big bat speed gainer over the course of from spring training on, I think it's a bit more robust group, certainly with guys you're kind of counting on than maybe we were hoping or even worried about like a week ago. So sure, that part's a little encouraging. I'd like to see Edgar Caro get on the party, given he hit double-digit home runs throughout the minors multiple times and isn't looking really in shape to turn around fastballs right now. You'd like to see Benintendi good, and has talked about having more bat speed this year, but that was just his second home run of the season. Both came on this road trip. Maybe that's part of it as well. And you don't have Teal immediately kind of coming back. There's a little bit of hope that he would get sent out in the middle of this road trip, and instead he would stay with the team the whole time because it's still kind of nagging him a little bit. So there's still like ways where they're not even operating like at full function in other parts of the lineup where it feels good. It's definitely like something they haven't had before, that when these 3 or 4 guys go off, they can kind of dominate or, put up a big number or keep pace, even with a game like Wednesday. But it's not yet like that's what this offense is. And it's even going to like, it'd be great if they were in the top half of the league in home runs, but for that would be a big breakthrough for this great on basic history, on recent history. So that we're even thinking that after a stretch like that, that's good. But I don't think they're there yet where like that defines them.
Yeah, prior to this road trip, they had 16 home runs in their first 19 games of the season, Jim. Now they have 32, and they're tied for 5th in Major League Baseball with the Washington Nationals and the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, I looked it up. They were tied for 21st before this West Coast trip, so they've jumped 16 spots with this outburst, which is cool. I'll take it.
It's sustainable, right? Is that what you're saying,
yeah,
Jim?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think, the sample size is small enough. And I think, with the way Montgomery went off last year in the second half and the way Murakami, like all the projections said, he's going to be this 3 true outcomes monster. And like fools, or at least like a fool, I said like, oh, certainly he's not going to do that. Certainly something has to give. Otherwise he will not be a sustainable, project to continue through the entirety of a 2-year deal. And so far, like he's hitting those projections basically like more homers than you think, more walks than you think, and more strikeouts than you think all at the same time. So with those 2 projections or profiles hitting, both like not hitting and then hitting and then not hitting and then hitting, it does balance out to be a bottom 10 offense and then a top 10 offense when things are going well and or poorly.
Well, let's talk about Munetaka Murakami and Colson Montgomery and the history that they have made. For the first time in Major League Baseball history, teammates have hit a home run in 4 consecutive games. Murakami obviously did it for 5 games in a row. Montgomery did it for 4 games in a row. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to our previous episode, James and I chatted about a point that Chuck Garfien from CHSN brought up on a tweet comparing Munetaka Murakami and Kyle Schwarber and their numbers in 2026. We elaborated a little bit further. And when you watch this road trip and these 6 games in the series against the Diamondbacks, I'm feeling more confident in that comp, and probably why a lot of MLB teams right now have buyer's remorse of not being more serious with their offers to Munetaka Murakami, because every team would love to have a Kyle Schwarber type of bat in their lineup for that instant offense. But I want to talk about Colson Montgomery, Jim, because with obviously Munetaka Murakami grabbing all of the headlines, as he should. But with this series against Arizona, Montgomery's heating up. And I just feel like with this offense, it does hit another gear when Montgomery is on a tear. Should we prepare for a hot streak from Colson Montgomery where he can carry the offense for weeks, if not a month?
It's possible. The thing that kind of confuses me right now with him is that he's not hitting righties, really. Like a lot of his damage is coming against lefties. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now just to see the splits after today. 1268 OPS against lefties this year, which is something. And a lot of his strikeouts, 23 strikeouts in 65 at bats. Trying to do the plate appearances real quick in my head, but it's like the strikeout rate's high against righties. The contact isn't quite there like he showed last year, or at least the kind of like the impact contact he showed against righties last year hasn't materialized with the regularity he had last year. So theoretically, if he unlocks that, then all of a sudden, like he's more than holding serve. Like he's excelling in the situations where he was supposed to be weak. So if he closes up the areas where like people thought he was okay, at the very least and very good at his very best, like all of a sudden, that's a potential monster you're talking about. I think with his levers, with this swing, he might always go hot and cold, or he, based on his kind of the way his profile's oscillated between being patient to the point of passive to being aggressive. I think there's probably some balances he's striking when it comes to hunting zone and trying to figure out exactly when to pull the trigger on certain fastballs and counts, or, recognizing breaking ball a little bit better in situations he learns profiles. But yeah, he always has kind of these gaps, kind of like whack-a-mole with him. If there's only one thing he could close, and it'd be great. And then something else opens up, and that's fine. At least if he changes the book frequently enough, and that's good enough for him with the way he does everything else. But like looking at last year, he was good against lefties, or I should say okay against them. Like the strikeouts somehow weren't a problem. I don't know if it's just a case of like keeping the shoulder closed, not trying to do too much, and maybe more willing to work the other way. And so the hit tool showed up a little bit more, and against righties he's letting it rip a little bit more often, and so that led to greater swing and miss. But this year, like it seems like somehow he's made those strides to where he's really connecting with lefties, and the righties is still kind of wonky. So when you realize that he's not really somebody can match up against, that's certainly a good first place to look in terms of like somebody who's capable of carrying an offense for 1 week, 2 weeks, no matter whether it's righties or lefties are starting, or whether teams are stacking lefties against him. If he can ward them off or even attack them, turn the tables on them, then that really adds an intriguing layer to his production that maybe I wasn't willing to grant him last year, even though he surprised in a lot of other ways.
The question I would have for Will Venable, James, is that if Montgomery's hitting that well against lefties, I mean, Montgomery's been the one that's been dropped to the lineup, right? Like batting sixth sometimes when there's been a left-handed starter. I get that doesn't really, I guess, match up. If he's OPSing over 1,200 against lefties, shouldn't be still up in the top 4 hitters for the White Sox.
It's possible they have not flipped their analysis of him against lefties by 3 weeks of splits that we have to factor in to some degree. But
that's fair.
I think he could work his way up the chain over the course of the year. Like they stipulated from the front, like he's not going to sit against lefties, which obviously is a status that like Benintendi or Sam Antonacci doesn't enjoy yet. So there's some baseline faith that he's okay enough in there to be in the lineup as a daily presence. They've already jostled around. It's always going to like be a little staggered. They're probably never going to like bat like Colson and Murakami like second and third against a left-handed starter. You're probably going to see them spread out a little bit, but I could see them moving back to fourth or fifth. If this kind of holds the way it has been so far.
Yeah, I figured with him batting sixth, the White Sox analytics team just figured out we need Montgomery, hopefully in later game situations, but I was not aware. That's a great pull, Jim. I did not know Colson Montgomery has been crushing against lefties to start this year. Montgomery in his last 15 games is batting .259 with a .365 on base percentage, slugging .630 with 5 homers and 12 RBIs. Let's keep that up. A .995 OPS the last 15 games. Yeah, Montgomery's already on a hot streak. I'm just hoping, Jim, that this can continue for a couple more weeks into May.
I mean, a good barometer for him is like Caro is still batting fifth against lefties based on like what he's done his whole career, even though like obviously the results he's gotten early on are not good. So probably when he moves down is when you think is when they're readjusting their analysis to where Colson would move up.
And I think they like to have some space just to make it harder on managers in the later innings to deploy a lefty reliever, not really have to think about it. And it seems like they've wanted Murakami to get more plate appearances early on to just see more major league pitching and get him up to speed faster. So if Murakami, has to bat higher, or they'd prefer him batting higher, all things being equal, then, I guess that caps Colson's ceiling to a certain degree of maybe hitting fourth or fifth. But yeah, I think Caro, not being the catcher they thought he would be against lefties, they figured probably Teal's in the middle of the order against righties and Caro against lefties, and you feel pretty good about that. And just the way it's kind of unfolded is not the case.
Yeah, tough start to the season for Edgar Caro on Wednesday, burning the ABS challenges by the second inning, still struggling offensively.
Spiking a helmet.
Yeah, spiking the helmet. You could see that it's getting to him. It's starting to get to him.
The Instagram post.
I missed that. What was his Instagram post?
What was the title of the Instagram post?
It was just like a player reading a book that said, like, in Spanish, like how to not strike out every day, or in every game. Edgar's usually pretty blunt about his self-assessments when he's struggling or doing good. So it seemed in hand with that. Like he said, post game, like, everybody knows I suck right now. Like 2 weeks ago, like he hasn't hidden from it at all. Like, credit to him.
Staying on the positive train, when you've had the conversations with the White Sox director of hitting, Ryan Fuller, James, and you mentioned in your previous answer that the White Sox think that there may be more power, and one of those guys that kind of flashed some power in this series and overshadowed, of course, by the big series with Murakami and Montgomery, is Miguel Vargas. And I know you and I have had this conversation about Miguel and like what kind of player that he can be. Do the White Sox think that there's more power within Vargas's profile?
Poor Miguel, he hits like a 430 footer, 3 straight homers during this series, and as Jim pointed out, not even like the most like power hitting Vargas in the ballpark the other day, and then no one's even paying attention to his little streak. But yeah, they had the thing that we talked about last time, which is that his bat speed's up. All the things about driving the ball he was kind of working on last year, and covering the top of the zone and like the rhythm in his move. But like as far as like him just having more raw pop, he was. I mean, I showed you the chart that Driveline put out today that's saying like he's the biggest bat speed gainer in terms of like percentage points on fast swings of anyone in baseball. They put everyone through that program. He didn't like say a ton about it because like I think he gets a little queasy when anyone starts like, so you're a power hitter now to him, and he doesn't like that at all. He's very much like, I do whatever is needed for the situation, the game type of guy. But yeah, the White Sox have said like they've every public chart you've seen about like White Sox are one of the biggest bat speed gainers as a group this spring. The White Sox hitting group has seen it, whether that's like both because they're focused and because they're kind of online. They're aware of that. And Vargas was the biggest gainer. And so Vargas is the person that we could see, really bear the fruit of it in a way, because even more so than Chase Mydrop, who was up a little bit as well, his contact is a bit more line drive, fly ball oriented, whereas Chase is more a little bit lower trajectory. Like their ideal of him still is not like someone who's hitting 15 home runs, but more just hitting fewer ground balls. So I think Vargas is probably the gainer. Like Everson Pereira jumps out, but like Everson Pereira was a top 100 prospect because he had huge bat speed with the Yankees, even when no one knew if he was ever going to hit. So that's whether he's seen a little uptick. I think they were more focused on contact with him. Vargas is the guy who basically showed up with more power just from training this spring.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
Yeah, Everson Pereira's bullet point number 4. Fantastic defensive plays on Tuesday. Like right after we had that conversation about Pereira, James, in our previous episode. Listeners, I am now on the Everson Pereira bandwagon. Like the way that he plays defense and the way that he's been hitting, I'm getting a little excited here, Jim. If Vargas and Pereira and Munetaka Murakami is everything that we hoped for, and Colson Montgomery is finding his form late in 2025, those are 4 players you can build around, at least for this season. And if they can be consistent and they can consistently play 500 baseball, it's going to be a lot more fun to watch and talk about this team.
I'm not quite on the Pereira train yet, just because.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean,
why?
Yeah, I seem to be
because he missed the cutoff man today.
Yeah, I mean, that's a right fielder with an arm is cool, so I guess you can go with that.
You didn't like Andrew Benintendi playing right field? That didn't scare you?
No, I mean, I did like it in terms of completing the sets. Major league first. It's kind of weird when an outfielder never plays an outfielder spot if he's been able to cover center. So it does create some symmetry in terms of his baseball reference page. But no, just like Pereira went from being the bad kind of out of options in spring training to especially when he had the oblique issue and not sure if he's going to be healthy or in rhythm enough to where, are they going to carry a guy who didn't really have a spring training and is striking out 40% of the time, and they already have so many other guys who are out of options. And now he's the good out of options, which is even if he does run hot and cold and has this cold stretch, just like who else is more promising? Who else has shown so much early on, who is defensively capable of playing right field as well? Like, who's a better use of this playing time? Nobody. So that's where I'm at with him right now, is that just some of the swings and misses don't really lend a whole lot of confidence to like the way he's picking up the ball sometimes, or maybe it's just a case of like he just has his own scouting plan on a pitcher and just tries to get the jump on him, and sometimes that backfires. That could be fine too. Like if it's early in the count and I'd rather have him swinging and missing versus like hitting a weak grounder. So like if the counts extend because he's aggressive and sometimes the swings look bad, not the worst thing in the world. So I'm still learning him a little bit. So that's why I'm not convinced, but it's not like convinced, he has to do more to earn my faith. Like it's not a haughty kind of like, I'm not convinced. It's more like, the way I process players, like the way he looks, comparing it to like images in my mental library of sound, stable hitters isn't quite there yet. But like Lenine Sosa was somebody who kind of fit the same profile of like, what are you doing in a certain plate appearance? And then you look at like the week and like, oh, he's one of the 9 best hitters. May as well keep playing. I'm like, there's always, outliers in that regard. So I'm more just interested in watching him. And based on some of the outfield permutations the White Sox have run out, I consider that a compliment. And that like, hey, here's a White Sox outfielder I like seeing in a specific outfield spot that isn't left field. And let's see what he does, good or bad.
I think like an element of it that I appreciate is I feel like other White Sox like post high projects like Vargas and my draft to a degree, and just since he was like blocked at his previous place, is like you're giving this opportunity to people who aren't like jump out the screen athletes but are like super confident, so maybe they'll be able to make it work. Or all the kind of the pitcher reclamation projects are he throws 92 from a weird angle. I don't feel like they've had like these are risky, but the risk, like we're trying to get the tools monsters to like work, and I feel like it's a little bit more fun to watch them move around. Like even you could put Murakami in the bucket of like, hey, we don't know if he can ever hit the ball, but when he connects, it's going to go 500 feet. We're just seeing Everson Pereira like swing hard as hell and like curl his body around. It's like, wow, this is like really interesting. I don't know if it's going to work, but like I'm watching a moving object go really fast. And obviously if you had the whole team built to that, it would become annoying in a different respect, but like they sprinkled in to what were more like less interesting schemes that they had going on the last couple of years. Like here's someone who's just like physically impressive, and it's kind of like, all right, I'll watch this for a little bit. This is fun.
I will say I like the confidence with which he moves. Like his swings have conviction. When he has a bat at bat, he doesn't look bothered by it. It's like he has pretty aggressive routes in the outfield and is running hard. So yeah, I like the body language, I guess, if I'm going to go to that route in terms of like, he looks like he knows what he's doing. I'll just keep watching it. Like, I'll trust him to some degree in terms of, he bounces back well. Like he's shown ability to, either adjust or wait for a pitcher who's more his speed or, kind of more of the same wavelength, and then something cool happens. So, he's doing certainly enough right now to, keep playing him. And I think like the next, bad week he has, I guess, that's kind of what I'm bracing for and seeing how well he pulls out of that slump, if he can pull out of the slump. But, I want to see him try. Like I think he's built up enough leeway and shown enough right now to where like the next cold spell, like, don't keep playing him, keep running him out there unless like something physically wrong with him.
One of my favorite highlights offensively over the series is Sam Antonacci hitting his first home run. It's really hard to describe. It was an in and out swing, went down the third baseline. The security guy thought it went foul, tried to interfere, but you can't review that type of play, which I didn't know about. And then everybody stopped, except for Sam Antonacci. And he ran all the way around the bases, and the home run counts. That's his first career home run inside the Parker. And Jim, I don't think you could script a first career home run for Sam Antonacci in any better way.
Yeah, I think I would give it like a 9.5 out of 10. I think 10 out of 10 would involve like him forcing a throwing error and getting like the final 90 feet. More of a little league home run. But I guess that would just be a triple and then like a 90-foot error versus a home run. So yeah, I think in terms of what he could possibly earn that stands as a home run after the official scorer weighs in or after like the team challenges it or something like that to kind of take an earned run off a pitcher's tab, then I guess like that would have to be the kind of freakish play that would involve like him not hitting the ball terribly hard, and he did let up around second base just a little bit because I think I took as a sign, okay, he's processing the game like everybody else to a certain degree, and that like he's paying attention. He's not just running, mindlessly. He is assessing the situation and seeing a ball man security guard looking guilty while Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is not moving. Like there were cues to say stop running, but there was not. The umpire didn't have his arms up, so I think I took a slowdown approaching second as him processing things, doing risk assessment. And then once he saw that nobody's closing on the ball, he kept going. And so it was just a little bit of almost like a rope-a-dope there to get the extra or the remaining 180 feet to do it. But I can't think of another more fitting home run that does not involve an error.
Well, Sam Antonacci is on the board. The White Sox offense through 25 games this season. They're 17th in team OPS. Their team OPS is now 702. Last year, they finished at 675. So progress. They're 11th in team walks. They have 99. They're bottom 10 in strikeouts, so not bottom 5. They're 24th in strikeouts. They've already struck out 234 times. They're 10th in stolen bases. But the most important offensive metric, runs scored. The White Sox are 21st right now in Major League Baseball with 104 runs scored. However, they are averaging more than 4 runs a game. So there's a little bit of an uptick, and hopefully that continues to go in a positive manner for the White Sox offense, because it's a lot more fun to talk about this team when they are hitting, especially the way they've been hitting the last 6 games.
Now at McDonald's, a sausage McMuffin is only $1.50. So stop dreaming about breakfast sausage and go get it. Get more value on the under $3 menu.
Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher for delivery.
Over on the pitching side, we talked a lot about Davis Martin in our previous episode. Another cap tip to him. He had the no decision on Thursday. But man, Davis has been fantastic at his first 5 starts this year. 6 1/3 innings pitched. He only allowed 1 earned run. Grant Taylor did a good job helping close out that 7th inning. For Davis, only walked 1, struck out 7. 5 starts into the season, Davis Martin has pitched 31 1/3 innings, and his season earned run average is 2.01. Fantastic start for the Dart. But James, I want to talk about Anthony Kay, because Wednesday, there's nothing really constructive to pull out of that start other than just let's flush it and move on. But against the Diamondbacks, 3 2/3 innings for Anthony Kay. He allowed 8 hits, 8 earned runs. He walked 3, and he only struck out 1. And this is not a good first impression by Anthony Kay with this new team. In 5 appearances this season, 3 of those being starts, 2 of them having openers. Anthony Kay's pitched 21 innings. He's allowed 21 hits, 12 walks, 13 strikeouts, and his earned run average is 5.57. What could be a path towards success for Anthony Kay to bounce back with the White Sox?
Well, just not facing Ildarmo Vargas anymore. That probably might clear most of it up in terms of even getting through 5 innings the other day. Like, that was his first real blow-up outing, and he looked pretty good against Kansas City, though their offense isn't hitting anything right now. The velocity's better than even was anticipated. But right now, he's like, his four-seamer's just getting crushed, at least statistically. And while it's a little facile to be like, look at the result numbers and be like, the pitch with the bad numbers, stop throwing it. The pitch with the good numbers, throw it more. He did say, like, he coming over from Japan, which was a lot more like contact-oriented league, and where there's more like launch and just swing and miss the top of the zone in the majors, that he thought he'd be throwing a bit more four-seamers than he had. He's like become four-seam predominant, and I wonder like how much of that is like it was eaten in spring training, and he's like sitting 97 and he feels good about it. And is there a little bit of recalibration to maybe be more of an even split, or using the cutter more like the way he kind of mixed 3 fastball shapes in Japan a bit more often, just based on results? The sinkers, it's the results look good right now, but obviously probably wavers a little bit in terms of like if he uses it more. It just seems like it can't be like as four-seam dominant with the results he's getting so far. Nothing really looked great against Arizona. Like, none of his pitches were getting on the barrels at any point. So I don't know if like sinking is necessarily this magic key to fix things, but right now it seems like he's throwing something a lot more than you saw him throw last year, and not to great effect. So you could see that switching a little bit. I also just think like you get bad results, and they've already done a couple times already. Probably going back to opener usage when they can do it. They're using an opener for Eric Fetty, who probably has been more effective than Kay early on Friday. So he clearly hasn't loved it, but I think like a start like this, and especially feeling like, maybe Shane Smiths is someone who re-enters the conversation decently soon if he builds off his last start. I imagine they're not going to be hands off in terms of like trying to tweak someone that they already thought could benefit from opener usage or being shielded from the heart of the order 3 times already. So yeah, they'll probably do something quickly.
Well, we'll see on how Anthony Kay does. He's not scheduled to pitch against the Nationals this weekend, so his next outing will be against Los Angeles Angels after the weekend. That's a Monday through Wednesday series to conclude the homestand for the White Sox. Lucas Sims was designated for assignment by the White Sox, and they have called up Tyler Davis. Now, the White Sox have already had 39 different players, Jim, appear in a game this season. Do not create a Sporkle Pop quiz on us, Ted, and ask us to name everyone that's played for the White Sox so far in 25 games. But Tyler Davis could be number 40. And I'll be honest, I don't know much about Tyler Davis. What should we know about the new guy joining the White Sox bullpen, Jim?
Well, Baseball Reference has 38. Davis would be 39, based on who's actually appeared in the game. I'm not sure if there's anybody who's been on the roster and hasn't appeared. But that's the tally I've been
Who's our
working
Greg Jones so far?
Yeah, Shadow.
Who pitched ran?
No, Tristan Gray. That was Tristan Gray last year, who was on the roster and never appeared. And then is he still the Twins RBI leader this year? I know he surfaced in a strange context, maybe like last week.
Greg Jones was our pinch runner. Tristan Gray's the one that never appeared in a game.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was truly in the gray area.
I think Jones had it bad.
Yeah. Yeah, Davis is somebody like James wrote about him, actually, just talking about how he was this two-way player at Sam Houston State and undrafted in his senior season, goes to independent ball. The White Sox sent him out of independent ball. He's 25 in A ball and just kind of makes his way up. And White Sox like his, he's got a fastball slider combination. Like, I've never seen him pitch well. That's the thing. Like, I've seen him probably pitch like 5 or 6 times, and he's never stood out to me. And he got roughed up in both Nashville games this year. And I watched him, kind of with one eye in Birmingham, and then James wrote the thing about him. I'm like, oh, I'll have to watch him again, because I'm looking at my box scores that I have in my scorebook, and like, no, it just didn't stand out. And then watch him in Nashville and just wasn't working. And then he's been lights out since then. So perhaps there's something about him that just doesn't. When I'm in the building and he can feel my presence, just something sends a chill up his spine and his command is thrown off. But yeah, he's a guy where I ended up pivoting when writing the notes piece about just like you're getting to the point where like Peyton Pillette's doing fine in Cleveland. Like if you wanted a right-handed reliever who could be freely optioned up and down at least 4 times over the course of a season and occasionally get some outs, but you're not going to trust him in anything besides medium leverage at most. Like he was there. They could have done that. And instead, they kind of went through the Rule 5 route, and both those guys are out. And now they're trying to cycle through their non-roster invitees and off-roster prospects, and they're digging deep right now. And it's a numbers game to an extent with the bullpen that one of them's got to click, and it could be Davis. But it's getting to the point where I just wonder if they look at it and be like, that could have been a roster spot we used on Pallette just to believe in the guy that we had, and to the extent that my scouting matters, which is very, very little. I'd seen Pallette pitch a few times and been like, oh, there's at least a pitch in here, like, snapping off some good curveballs, seeing how the high fastball works with the curveball when it's working. I could see like a couple innings that he made look easy and thought like, I get what he's going for. And with Davis, I just never got that, like what differentiates him from the rest of the group, and never quite had that answer. So I'm hoping he shows it with the White Sox, because I would like to see it. I like when guys prove that I'm not a scout. I read enough about scouting to where like I feel like I should learn things by osmosis, but I'm not to the point where I can confidently state characteristics that scouts can claim. I would at least hazard a guess and be prepared to be wrong if I were to voice such opinions to a more educated group.
Well, best of luck to Tyler. Also earlier, before we recorded this podcast, Tanner McDougal was making a start down in AAA for the Charlotte Knights. He was pulled from that game. And James, do you have a status update on McDougal and what happened?
It's his hamstring, so it's not his arm, which is nice. It's they don't really know yet severity. I think it's a similar thing we'll know either Friday or sometime this weekend, whenever like they put out the results of his examination about whether it's the severity. It can range, as we've already seen this season, but it's not an arm injury, so that's nice at least.
No, that is good. Yeah, because how hard he's been throwing, when the trainer comes out and pulls a pitcher, you immediately think, oh no, is his elbow going to be blown up? Are we not going to see Tanner McDougal until 2028? But knock on wood, everything goes all right with the hamstring.
I mean, you need your legs to pitch, and so it could knock him out the same way it does a position player. But yeah, it's not a season destroyer type of.
Well, that
it's.
Is good.
I was looking up the temperature just to see, like, was it cramping or was it a case of like dehydrated? It was 81 degrees, and I think he's somebody who works up a lather on the mound to where he can't quite tell based on the way he looks alone, just whether it's 75 degrees or 105.
Well, hopefully we'll know more about the severity of Tanner McDougal. When we do, we'll be reporting that on SoxMachine.com, especially either a pregame notes from James or in the minor keys as Jim Margulis recaps all the action down in the minor league system for the Chicago White Sox. And now for the White Sox, this weekend, the Washington Nationals come into town. The Nationals are 11-15, but they are third place in the National League East because what in the hell is going on in Queens and Philadelphia? Mets, Phillies, baby, you got to pick it up. They're already 9 games behind Atlanta in the standings. The Nationals are 7 games back of the Braves. The Braves are 18-8 to start this season. The Nationals have been very good on the road. They're 8-5. And much like the White Sox, where it's Munetaka Murakami and Colson Montgomery, it's James Wood and CJ Abrams for the Nationals. James Wood has 10 homers. His OPS is over 1,000. CJ Abrams has 7 homers, 20 RBIs. His OPS is 975. A couple of old friends in this series. Curtis Mead has got 3 homers. Thanks, bud. Gus Varland, if you remember him, he's got 2 saves for the Nationals as he's made 10 appearances out of the bullpen. And your pitching probables for this series, Friday night, As James told us before we started recording this podcast, Brian Hudson's going to open that game for Eric Fetty. Saturday afternoon, 3:10 p.m. Central Time, Noah Schultz will make his third start, and then on Sunday at 1:10 p.m. Central Time, this is Star Wars Day for the White Sox. Sean Burke will make that start. I want to start with Sean Burke, James, because Burke made the start on Tuesday against Arizona, and for those that are part of our Veterans Committee at Sox Machine, part of our group chat, as we are texting during the game, you've been noticing that at times Sean Burke's velocity is dipping in his starts. Is this something that White Sox fans need to pay closer attention to? Is this something we should be concerned about with Sean Burke?
I mean, sure. I think it's easier for him to be effective when he's 95, 97, or, even touching upper 90s. He thinks the same. We've talked about it.
Is it an injury thing, or is it just
kind of, sort of? It's not
mechanics?
an injury in terms of like arm injury. It's like he talked about it. It's mechanical and like feeling good tied into it. And so he felt like he wants to have like separation where he brings his arm back from his torso and not like drawing back his torso like with it and kind of opening up a bit more. So he wants like that separation between his arms so his arm can whip a little bit. However, when they kind of get tied together where they both go back, he felt like it was like a stiff neck, or he was having that around that. The chicken or egg like element to it, it's hard to nail down by his description, but basically like he felt like he was working through the end of spring. He had another outing where he was more in the mid to upper 90s throughout it, and he felt a little bit better then. I don't know if it was what exactly was happening in Arizona because I wasn't there, but like he also feels like he gets better, like his delivery is a bit whippier, and he gets like better arm action, and you see the 96s, 97s when he's doing that right. And he also feels physically better when he does it. So I'd be a little, maybe I wouldn't be surprised if it got worse and he ended up on the IL, but he wasn't talking about that. It's more like if my mechanics are bad, I get a little sore in my neck, and alongside my velocity, going down, and when I feel better and I'm executing my delivery a bit more, I feel good and my velocity's up. So I don't know how you'd sum it up if that's an injury concern. Like obviously you don't want him to continue to have neck pain and poor mechanics, but he felt like they were kind of intertwined, if that makes sense.
I will say, like, it was the most useful his curveball had been. Like, despite like the fastball feel not being there and the velocity being kind of slow to show up. Like, I'm not used to watching Burke to where like the curveball helped him be more efficient versus like the curveball usually being the reason why he's piling up so many pitches, because he's either getting foul tips or not getting the called strikes that are difficult to get. Like he was spotting it when they weren't expecting it, and occasionally was able to throw a wipeout version, but it was very nice for him.
He was talking about it feeling like it was his best pitch the last time we spoke, which usually he or at least past years, he's talked about a slider that way. And I felt like he certainly saw starts last year where he didn't, certainly when the shape started changing because of the whole sinker issue, you saw him kind of relying on the curveball more. It still seems like the curveball is like the breaking ball that he feels most comfortable with. And obviously it seems like the one that's playing best to lefties right now. So it's kind of saving him on both the fronts that are, big issues for him traditionally.
Now that's interesting. So something to watch is to see how Sean Burke's curve is doing against the Nationals. Again, he will be making that start on Sunday for the White Sox. The night before, I should say the afternoon before, Noah Schultz, Jim, making his third start. James and I talked about his second start against the Athletics and how great that looked. What are you hoping to see from Noah Schultz in start number 3?
I guess to be greedy, I guess, like in terms of results, like just duplicating the results he showed last time around, like keep doing that. 5 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, 1 walk. Can't do much better than that. So certainly like whatever that takes is cool. But I think in terms of completing his game, I think the slider or the sweeper, as StatCast is now calling it, that hasn't really been there for him. And so to get the strikeouts that he wants to get the uglier swings that he can occasionally get, that's the pitch that does it typically. And so if he's able to locate that better, it should be a lot yeah, the whiffs should keep coming. Like the whiffs were basically non-existent in his debut. Then they were better in his second start, but I think if he realizes his ceiling, that pitch is going to be a big part of it. The fact that he's succeeding without it is great. And I guess like I'll pat myself on the back for a couple of years ago when he introduced the 4-seam fastball up in the zone, thinking like, hey, that's a good pitch. And then he stopped throwing it last year, and I thought like, why isn't he throwing it? And then he kept throwing it this year, and like, yeah, I saw something. So I will give myself credit for that while getting a lot of other things wrong. But that's, I think, like a nice feature of this version of Schultz is that he doesn't need a slider to survive or even like thrive as he did in Sacramento. So there's that. And then I guess the other thing on my scouting report for him was that like he's a good fielding pitcher, and then he's got 2 errors in his first 2 games, and so he's let me down in that regard. One, a bullet that he threw home on a bunt, like it actually wasn't a bad throw. It was just too hard for the situation. Like from a weird angle and expecting Edgar Caro to catch and apply a tag at like, 88 degrees coming from like where the first baseman is standing. Like that's not what you expect to have to handle. And then the other one was just dropping the ball, like rushing his action. So if he fulfills his scouting report, better slider, and then also like making plays, you would expect a 6'10" or taller pitcher to make.
If you are attending these games, Friday night's going to be beautiful weather. High is going to be 70 degrees in Chicago. Saturday and Sunday, the forecast has first pitch temperatures in the 50s. So, but should be dry this weekend. White Sox, let's win a home game. It's 6 straight losses at home. So let's try to ride the good vibes this time from the road trip. They split at Kauffman Stadium. We're feeling pretty good. That's a big win. Get swept. 4-2 in this road trip. Upcoming 6 games, Nationals, Angels, they go 4-2 again. Hey, they're inching closer to 500. I think it's very doable for the White Sox, especially if they continue to hit like they have. They just have to navigate around James Wood and CJ Abrams in the Nationals lineup. But we'll be recapping that series at our next episode of the Sox Machine podcast, which we'll be recording on Sunday night. So they'll be in your guys' podcast feeds on Monday morning. If you just discovered the Sox Machine podcast, you can subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts, such as Spotify and Apple Music. We'll have more videos coming from right field this weekend as James will be there covering the games for us. You can watch our videos on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/SoxMachine. Follow us on social media. We're on all the platforms at Sox Machine. You can follow James at JR Fegan. You can follow me at SoxMachine_Josh. If you enjoy our work, you want full access to all of our coverage of the Chicago White Sox, Major League Baseball, and the upcoming Major League Baseball draft. Sign up to become a Sox Machine subscriber at SoxMachine.com/products. Monthly plans start at $5. We have additional tiers of support. For our 25 WAR members, we owe you guys a Zoom call. I already got someone reaching out to me. Jim, hey, I got draft questions. Are we going to have a Zoom call soon? We'll get that scheduled, and we'll have our Veterans Committee. We have some spots open, so if you want to be part of the group chat and have direct access to Jim and James and pester James with questions when he is doing his job at the stadium, you can do so. Doesn't mean he'll answer them, but you can pester him with questions. If you'd like to join our VC or any of our support groups, again, SoxMachine.com/products. The Sox Machine podcast is a production of SoxMachine.com. You're for all things Chicago White Sox baseball and part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. Alongside James Fegan and Jim Margulis, I'm Josh Nelson. Thanks for listening and watching.